Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirt bags off these trees.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by cyber.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night close in.
But the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Repill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. Hope everybody is doing well out there.
And just give me a good thumbs up or a 5-5 if you guys can hear me all right and the video is good. I don't know what's going on yesterday, but I just want to validate that everything is good tonight. And the whole world is a stage. And in this day and age, we have to be prepared for all forms of warfare, specifically the psychological warfare. Well, I guess that was a PSYOP. Everybody's asking, wasn't Alpha supposed to be on with you? It's a PSYOP. Well, something happened. I will get into that in a second. I'll get into that, why Alpha isn't on with me today. We are going to be on DEF CON 0 after this show. And tomorrow, Alpha and I'll be on. I'll talk about that in a second. So, there's a lot of information going on right now. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of contradiction. There's a lot of people playing both sides. There's a lot of FAGA out there, fake MAGA. There's a lot of people out there turning on Donald Trump. One thing that I've noticed about Donald Trump over the last decade is this man, he requires absolute loyalty. No faltering from the top of that hill. And I think that that's the big test that we're seeing right now. A lot of the stuff coming out there is, remember, appear weak when really strong. Appear weak when really strong. And right now we are getting indications that his inner circle is not maybe who we think it is, that we have Cash and we have Pam that aren't doing what we thought, and the investigations aren't coming out the way we suspected. And it's like, what is going on here? Is Trump compromised? Is the whole system compromised? What's going on? Well, we talked a lot about this last night, and I hope that you go back and watch that show if you did not, and if you did, watch it again, because I talked specifically about why all of that is happening. But today was a whole new level. So Lara Logan, Lara Logan released an interview yesterday, which has taken the internet by storm today. And we're going to go over a lot of those parts and break that down, because a lot of what I talked about last night is what was in that interview. And the things that I'm going to cover tonight, bringing this all together. So everything that we've been talking about is all going to start making sense and come together. Specifically that Epstein article that I did. And this is one of the big reasons why we are witnessing a massive pushback from the globalists, from the deep state intelligence apparatus, from the deep state itself, for the release of the Epstein files, and why they do not want these. And they'll scorch the earth to ensure that this stuff doesn't come out, because it uncovers the system that has been utilized to bring about the corruption, to steal elections. We're going to talk about a lot of this tonight. But the first thing, so Alpha and I were supposed to do a show tonight. We're going to do a show specifically on the Ghost Army and talking about the Ghost Army. We're going to do that on DEF CON 0 tonight. So I'm telling you, if you can stay up late and watch DEF CON tonight, it's going to be well worth it. It's going to be one hell of an episode. Now, last night, or this morning, today, I posted a video, which some people didn't like, but it's an older video. And this video is of Patrick Byrne, myself, and of Alpha, myself, and Patrick Byrne on an interview we did last year on November 20th after the 2024 election. And this is where Patrick Byrne tells us how it happened, what happened, how they stopped the steal of the 2024 election. And this is what Emerald Robinson, this is what Lara Logan, this is what they're all putting out there right now. And some people didn't like that we put this video out there. I'll tell you that much. But within an hour or so, we got a phone call. And someone on that phone call was a representative of someone else. And they said, hey, do you got 30 minutes tomorrow for an interview? And we said, yep. Yeah, we got 30 minutes for an interview tomorrow. So Alpha and I decided to not do the show tonight, but instead air the interview that we are doing tomorrow as our show. Now, I can only imagine who that interview is going to be with, because it was quite interesting that text message came out, 20 minutes before this post right here. So, I bet you can probably understand who we're interviewing tomorrow. But anyway, so today at 5:32 p.m., General Michael Flynn posted, "Get ready," and he posted this video. Now, Anons will know what video this is. I'm just going to play it for everybody right now.
We have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics. And that story will continue to be told here. But we have what we call citizen journalists. Okay? Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media. We have an army.
So, General Flynn posting this video with a big "get ready" with that one exclamation point today. And 20 minutes before this is when they texted us and asked if we could have an interview for tomorrow. So General Flynn, myself, and Alpha will be doing an interview tomorrow. And so that'll be airing tomorrow night. So make sure that you guys are on board and prepared for that. And it'll probably be followed by, I think it's going to be a short interview. It'll be followed by Alpha and mine's breakdown of that interview. So expect that tomorrow. But he posted this at 5:32. And it's almost like he's just talking my language, right? He's just throwing the comms out there. He says, "Get ready, get ready." And in this post, it says, "Are you prepared? Memes, post, organized and coordinated. POTUS may retweet one or more. Ready for launch? Show the world the truth. Open their eyes. Don't let POTUS suffer from Soros loser bots that continually flood. Make the fake news awards your first organized tweet storm day. Make America great again." Whoa. That's pretty crazy. Now, what's also crazy about that is immediately after General Flynn posted this, Trump went on a post-in frenzy on Truth Social. Almost like it was coordinated and planned. Almost like a hat tip to Anons out there. And Trump went and posted from this young lady's account, who is I stand with Trump 47. I found that really interesting because I just posted a post a few minutes before he started posting said I stand with Donald Trump. I found that kind of weird. But we are in the heart of this. I think, and I can't confirm this, I'm going to ask the question tomorrow. I think that we're going to see the return of General Michael Flynn very shortly to the White House as the National Security Advisor. I think that is what Are You Ready is all about. And so it's time. We need General Michael Flynn. Number one is he's a subject matter expert on the area of operation in the war domain that is being fought right now, specifically Cuba, Latin America, South America, Mexico. And there's a lot more happening in those regions than we understand. And we're gonna show some of this from a Lara Logan interview. Now, Alpha had a funny post today. And I'm not going to say that this was coordinated because it might have been. But we were talking about something. And I blew his mind. You know how I blow Alpha's mind. I told him something. He goes, "What? Wait, holy shit, wait." He goes, "I'm going to write a post about that." He goes, "Sometimes it's not about what they say. It's about what they didn't say. For example, the White House immediately set the record straight with Kash Patel and fake news about his firing. What say you, Joshua Reed? Well, I went ahead and immediately reposted this guy of Caroline Levitt saying the story is completely made up. In fact, the fake news published. I was in the Oval Office where President Trump was meeting with his law enforcement team, including FBI Director Kash Patel. And I give a little wink. Now, what's interesting about that is Donald Trump, right today, before he left on Air Force One, confirmed that the rumors about Kash Patel are bullshit.
And there would be nothing like it.
Are you planning to replace Kash Patel as
No, he's doing a good job. Kash Patel? No, he's doing a great job, I think.
He doubled down on it. But this is really interesting. It's interesting because Sunday night, Alpha and I had a discussion. Alpha and I and Brad had a discussion. The discussion was about Susie Wiles. And Sunday night on Q After Hours, we said Susie Wiles needs to go. Susie Wiles is the gatekeeper to Donald Trump. She's not relaying appropriate information. She is blocking information. We had Defender of the Republic on with Alpha in an interview talking about how during the big, beautiful bill, there was a change in the bill that Donald Trump never got notified on, and that they had 13 congressmen who were holding out on the signing of it, sent it up to Susie Wiles' chief of staff, and it never got to President Trump, and Susie Wiles withheld it from him. And so we talked about this, and I said, Susie Wiles needs to go. And I said, Sunday night, we discussed how Susie Wiles is most likely heading out the door. The next day, Paul Sperry and others started talking about how Trump is going to be replacing Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, by the end of the year. A day after this, rumors circulate that Kash Patel is going to be fired. The press secretary and Trump immediately called Kash Patel's departure fake news. Did you notice they didn't say anything about Susie Wiles? Now we have General Flynn coming out there saying, get ready. Could potentially General Flynn be coming in as the chief of staff to Donald Trump? Or the new national security advisor to Donald Trump, and Dan Scavino going to the chief of staff to Donald Trump? I think that any of those are very, very plausible. How fast is it going to happen? I think it's going to happen relatively fast. I don't know how, an hour, a day, a week, but I think that we're on the verge of this occurring. Kirill Dmitriev today says the closer we get to peace, the more desperate warmongers become. And he's absolutely right, because the closer and closer the world gets to peace, the more desperate the deep state, the globalists, the cabal, the international criminal syndicate gets. And the more desperate that they get is like a rabid dog being trapped and cornered. What do? They lash out. And you just got to love this. You got to love this. Last week, we had a mystery illness. A mystery illness. If you remember this, a guy in Washington State had a mystery illness, which we find out is bird flu. Comes like 2 days after they exterminated all the ostriches that had the antibodies to actually cure that strain of bird flu. But hey, that's the side effect. Yesterday, the UK concluded Exercise Pegasus, the largest pandemic simulation in nearly a decade, with a simulated virus, enterovirus EVD68, thought to originate from pigs and primarily killing children. Now, that's interesting because we talked about another global large pandemic exercise a few years ago, what was exactly like that. But the UK concluded this. And then what do we hear today? What are we getting today? Oh my goodness. It's almost like the rabid dog is scratching and trying to get out of the corner. Cases of norovirus are rising across the U.S. according to updated data of the CDC. Do I think there's going to be another pandemic? I think that they absolutely could try to push another pandemic. I think it's very, very likely. Biowarfare is one of their methodologies and weapons that they would absolutely use, especially in a time of criticality like right now. Is it plausible? Yeah, it is. Do I think that this is what we're going to see? I think that we're going to see their potential to bring about what I call is a firestorm event. Social cultural destabilization, the destroying of our institutions and political centers, the attacks on infrastructure and supply chain, and then economic collapse aligned with World War III and potentially even a pandemic mixed in there. They want everything all at once. My microphone had disconnected. I apologize. Hope you guys understood my, hold on. All right. This is, in the world of coinky dinks, I love what's happening in the world of coinky dinks. Holy crap. AG Pam Bondi confirms the locations of 121 missing children in Memphis. The murder rate has been cut in half, and the crime rate is the lowest in 20 years now that the feds have gotten involved. 3,100 arrests and 500 illegal weapons seized. Now, I find that really interesting. You want to know why? Do you remember this from September? Restoring law and order in Memphis when Donald Trump said that he was going to deploy the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee. And the deep state fought back. And what did he do? He deployed federal agents, a massive team of federal agents to Memphis. And now out of Memphis, what are we getting? 121 missing children found. The murder rate cut in half, 3,100 arrests, 500 illegal weapons seized. Freaking unbelievable. But Josh, nothing's happening. Okay. That's what you think. Kash Patel was asked today by Catherine Herridge about ongoing investigations. This is really interesting because I do agree that Kash does evade some of these questions, but I think he's evading them because of ongoing criminal investigations. Listen to this.
That we have collected when bringing this case and acting on the facts and the law.
Respecting that there are ongoing investigations based on your recent congressional testimony, is the FBI pursuing a broader conspiracy that was allegedly designed to undermine President Trump?
We have multiple ongoing matters surrounding that. It's no secret. We can discuss this limitedly because we have divulged it to Congress, because we were working with our partners in oversight on Congress who have requested a voluminous amount of information. And what I want the American public to know is the baseline commitment we have to congressional oversight. Director Comey in his 3+ years turned over 3,000 pages of documents to Congress. Director Wray in his nearly 7 years turned over 13,000 pages to Congress. Us, this FBI, in 9 months, we're about to turn over our 40th 1,000 pages of documents to Congress already.
To be clear, are you building a larger conspiracy case?
We are going to continue to follow the facts and the law, and we have multiple teams working on these matters like any other case, and they will decide what to present and what not to present.
Are the former DNI, James Clapper, and the former CIA Director, John Brennan, and others in the clear?
Well, the FBI is not in the business of exonerating people. This FBI will be in the business of following the facts and the law. And as you've noted, and you followed greatly with our engagement with Congress, a number of these individuals, including the ones you've just listed, are being examined, and our scope of that will continue until we reach a finality of a conclusion.
Now, he said something interesting there. Number one is he didn't go on to talk about the ongoing criminal conspiracy. We know the statute of limitations is running out, but he did say 40,000 documents have been sent to Congress. Isn't that like a 40,000-foot view from the top? A few things we do know. There's 4 grand juries and panel that we actually know about. Florida, the Southern District, Eastern District of Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York. We assume New York is primarily about Epstein and potentially even the weaponization of government against Donald Trump. Pennsylvania, I believe, is going to be about the 2020 election. We will see as more information comes out about that. But Cash Patel giving a great update there that things are happening. The investigations are ongoing. We're not here to exonerate. We're here to investigate. And, it brings me back to James Comey. One of my theories on James Comey was that his 4587 post that he did with the seashells that was a signal, a smoke signal to the Trump administration, bring me in, I want to talk. And he began to tell everybody where everything was. He began to lay it all out for them, that he spilled the beans. And what he gets in the process of that is immunity. Well, you can't necessarily give him immunity. He'll be a target on the globalist head for a very long time. We knew that if pressed, Comey would be the one who talked. But how do you make it look like Comey is not the one who talked? How do you make it appear that Comey's just getting off by a technicality? Well, what just happened? We just had a Clinton appointed judge basically drop the case against Comey without prejudice, which means that charges can be brought back up, but it is at the statute of limitations. In other words, it's highly unlikely we're going to see the case be brought back up against James Comey. But that could have been the plan all along. And I'm just saying, that would actually be a really good legal plan, that if James Comey went out there and told everybody, hey, this is what's going on, this is how it happened, these are the people to look into, these are the paper trails to go and look up, and I want all of these charges dropped. How do you do that? Exactly what just happened. I'm just saying, it's a theory, but it's one to consider. Now, going into it, 2020 election fraud. We got to go back a little bit. We got to go back to an interview Alpha and I did last year. And I'm going to play this clip. This is a 10-minute long clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want you to listen to Patrick Byrne and what he says here. Going back to the 2016 election, these people steal elections and they make sure that they win when they steal these elections. How did Hillary lose?
Trump overwhelmed the algorithm. They were prepared for him to win. They were prepared for him to maybe win big. He won bigger than they were even prepared for.
So too big to rig in 2016.
Too big to rig. And that's kind of what happened this time. Well, something disrupted. They had a rig. I'm not going to go into too much detail. They had a rig planned. They have 15 different cheating techniques. They had 15 different cheating techniques. I'll put it this way. After I spent 2 years doing the America Project with General Flynn as my director and helping spawn this nationwide movement. And that's really, I gave away almost all my fortune, frankly, in the first 2 years after the fake election of 2020 to every constitutional sheriff's group, every election integrity group, Frederick Douglass Society, getting blacks to return to their correct party, their home party, the Republican Party, every group of moms standing up against LGBT ideology. And I was like the angel money and the venture capital money that funded 100 of these groups around the country to get this movement going. And General Flynn knows movement warfare and knows about movements. And it's all. But then I went overseas, and I've been overseas for 2 months. And I might as well say what I've been doing is I've been hunting that story on Venezuela. And I've put together the entire story, and this really is all Venezuelan mafia, which is the Venezuelan government. And Venezuela is where mafia turns into nation state. The government is the mafia. In fact, it's called the Cartel de los Soles, Cartel of the Suns, in reference to the generals don't have stars, they have suns. So the capos of the cartel are the generalissimos of the army. The mafia is the government. And they came to power under Hugo Chavez in 99, and they seized two things: the oil industry, because that's where the money is. It's the biggest oil reserves in the world. And they have since looted $4 trillion while their own people starve and cannibalize each other, literally. They seized $4 trillion. But how do you keep yourself from being dislodged? You seize the election industry and the election council. That election council created a type of software or technology package that you could rig elections on. They commercialized it their commercial front is a company called Smartmatic. And then Smartmatic, their package became the core of all the systems of all the main election systems in the world. I won't get in trouble by mentioning any brands, but those brands are really just name tags on what is really Smartmatic technology. So that's taken over the world. And that's what I spent the last 2 years on. And they had a plan to rig this election. And basically what they do is, this is my hotel room key and this is my bottle cap. If the plan is to have bottle cap beat hotel room key, they've got 14 different techniques on the ground of how you cheat. And it's all the ones we know about and some people don't know about, but of like getting illegals registered to vote, then stuffing the ballots in their names. The illegals don't have to vote. They just have to get registered to vote, and then they stuff ballots. There's 14 different things like that. But at the end of the day, they have in Serbia an office where they, at 7:01 p.m. when the polls shut down, they get on the computer, they see how much is left, and then they just jam it. And And the way they do that is they create, there's a back door into every county that use their equipment has a back door. They come in from Serbia through a VPN, and they create within that county's election management system, a virtual machine. And a virtualization is you create like a virtual machine in the RAM, not on a hard drive, but it's in the software in the RAM of a machine. So there's like some virtualization is something that came around in the last 2 decades. And you're creating sort of a second computer within the computer. And it operates like it's got its own hard drive and everything, but it's really all just software and RAM, memory. They manipulate whatever results they want. They can make that hard drive sing hallelujah if they want. They can do anything. Then they just collapse the virtual machine and they withdraw the connection. You ain't going to find a trace of nothing. You can audit that. You can audit all the software. You're not going to find anything. Only if you do a forensic audit and take an image of the hard drive and go through the bits and bytes, you're going to find, even there you won't find much because it all happens in the RAM, but you're going to find, this is what happened. Do you know about the Tina Peters case in Colorado? This is why they lost their mind, because she got a forensic image and of the hard drive that was used, and a computer science professor studied it and said, gee, something very strange happened in this middle of this election, where they created a new database, they wiped out the old one, they did this and that, but I don't see how they did it. There must be some hidden script. Well, I've learned how they did it, and this has been a 2-year, basically a private espionage effort, where we got all the people, we got everything figured out, and even how they did this in the office they did this from in Serbia. But they planned on doing this election night out of Serbia, but something seems to have disrupted their plans.
Now, do you think that they tried to do that in 2016 out of Ukraine? Okay, so Patrick Byrne actually goes on to tell us that he ran the same operation in Venezuela in early 2024 as kind of like a pre-test run, and they were successful. And now what we are finding out through the Lara Logan interview, for what Emerald Robinson is saying on her post, is that Patrick Byrne had a team coordinated with General Flynn and other people, citizens. This isn't working for the government, that utilized cyber warfare and shut down those Serbian computers. They had the IP addresses from 2020. They shut down the Serbian computers. And on election night 2020, they didn't know if it worked. And it wasn't until the results started coming in that they finally realized that they saved America. So Patrick Byrne and General Flynn are patriots through and through. These men, along with many others, uncovered how our elections were being stolen and operated a counter cyber operation that saved the 2024 elections. We owe these men a gratitude. 100%. And if you haven't watched Lara Logan's interview, I highly recommend you do. Now, pulling up Patrick Byrne's post today, he says, now that it's all coming out, remember how after election 2022, I turned the America Project over to Carlito and went overseas. Some said I ran away. Actually, this guy Gary and I One more, we're living on top of each other in various shitholes around the world doing exactly this. And so what's Gary saying?
They know where they can find the dead people that they need to get certain votes. They plan this, as Gary said before.
It's meticulous.
It's meticulous. These guys are experts at this. It's not just a few guys in a back room. You're talking about hundreds of statisticians and engineers, and they work it, for a year.
And mathematicians and hackers.
Right.
We had a map out of Colorado when we were talking to our engineers, the guys that designed it and stole the elections. And we looked at it and we said, look, it's Denver here and Colorado Springs, all the Democrats, they said, and they looked at us in pity,
Yeah.
Like, here's something. They said, no, we just go to every one place where Trump wins 70-30 and he's winning 68, or we shave, and every other place we don't go near a Democratic place, because when they want to do recounts, they're going to go to the Democratic places. They don't realize we shaved in every other committee. We know every other county. We know how to do this. And then in each of those things where they shave with a different technique in each one of those. So if you found something in one county, there's no continuity around the state that way.
So this is why the Republicans are so much at fault, because they have the power and the ability to show in their areas they can allow access to the machines, they can allow access to the source code, they can allow the...
But they thought we just won by 35%. Okay, we didn't win by 38.
Yeah.
We won by 35, so no one's going to call they should have, right?
Because everyone says, well, we expected the Republicans to win by a majority. Oh, it was a little less than we thought it was going to be, but they still won, so, no harm, no foul. But the evidence of the fraud is right there, and they could show it.
They never looked at it.
They never looked at it. There's a reason why they never looked at it. The intricacies of this network are deep. Let's listen to more of what Gary and all of them have to say here. Hold on. This post, of course, my computer just decides to freeze up at this point in time. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Let that refresh.
He's practically half dead.
But his son now is taking his place.
Yeah, his son used to have an office in the White House during the Biden
And he's been left in
administration.
operation to proliferate his tactics. He's now the Knight Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Tides Foundation. He's got the Open Society Foundation has its own university. They have global networks. They have
They're
policy
determined to
foundations.
change
They have
America, the nature of America.
the world.
Yeah,
They are
that's right.
determined to do that, and we have to be
Global
here to
government.
ensure that democracy and our republic survive.
Well, and especially the republic, right? Because democracy without the republic is a tyranny of the majority in any country. That's why democracy without the republic fails time and time and time again.
Yes. Yep. Well, they're attacking it all over the world. That's why they control elections in 72 countries. And they're using the same tactics in democracies all over the world.
So
Look what's
72
going on in
countries,
Europe.
the UK,
Yeah.
France.
Well, look, it's headquartered
Germany?
in the UK. They used it against the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
It's sitting in London. Its headquarters, SGO, Smartmatic, is sitting in London.
Oh, because Lord Malik Brown.
Oh, he's
was,
part of the
He was the head
Lord
of Smartmatic.
Malik Brown, and who was Kofi Annan's deputy at the United Nations years ago, was their guy to give their brand acceptance globally. Right. He knows what it was doing.
And then
Well, of course he knows, because he was on the board of Open Society Foundation.
That's exactly right.
And then after they successfully stole the 2020 election, Soros brought him over from London and made him president of Open Society.
Got a promotion.
That's right.
Yeah, he rewarded him for that.
Yeah.
So, okay, take me to election night 2020. Because I've investigated that. I have some ideas of what was going on. But, I mean, are these masterminds of election fraud? Where's Maduro? Where are the Iranians?
The Iranian foreign minister was actually in 2020 in Havana, not in Havana, in Caracas.
Which is the capital of Venezuela.
Was in Caracas with Maduro, watching them steal the election from Donald Trump and having a great time.
Who else was there?
Just him is all we know. We just know he was the only foreign leader that was brought there. Because the Iranians provided some engineers too. There were Iranian engineers inside the CNE. So he was brought over to watch it there, watch it steal it from Trump. Watch us punish the Americans.
Huh. Isn't that interesting? crazy familiar of everything that we've went over the last few months, isn't it? Venezuela directly connected to Iran, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, Hamas Houthis on Margarita Island, that there's direct coordination between Lord Malik Brown, Open Society Foundations. We had the email between Lenny Bernardo and Goldstein talking about Julianne Smith, the foreign policy advisor to Hillary Clinton's campaign on June 26, 2016, telling Lenny Bernardo that Hillary Clinton is on board with the Russia collusion hoax to go against Donald Trump. We just need to get information and media to put out there, and that's going to come from CrowdStrike and Threat Connect. This is a grand freaking conspiracy. Now, I want you to listen to this next part because it's more confirmation of everything we've been talking about. Do you remember when the Trump administration a few weeks ago put out the sombreros on Hakeem Jeffries and stuff? Do you remember this? And I said, that's not a joke. That's tagging them to who's controlling them. Listen to this next clip. It's only 1 minute long.
There are people in our intelligence community and our diplomatic community that are paid agents of the Cubans and the Venezuelan regime. We have been penetrated at a level never witnessed in our history. That
way farther than happened during the Cold
Cuban
War.
intelligence service and the Venezuelan, using Venezuelan resources, not only were they collecting intelligence on the United States, they established diplomatic and intelligence dominance over the United States during the past 20 years. Dominance. They had so many sources in so many sides in both political parties. Not just the Democrats, the Republican Party and political operators that are operating right now. So many of them are on their payroll.
Do you know
that
who
is
they
shocking.
are?
We know some of them are. Yes, we know they are.
These American traitors?
We know who they are. And guess what? The government knows who they are too now.
A couple of them are in jail.
Isn't that interesting? All the mortgage stuff that's going on right now, all of the Letitia James, Adam Schiff, all of this, understand, this is how the cartels would pay them. They go out there, buy 3 or 4 houses. Why do they label it their primary? Because after 2 years, you don't have to pay taxes on your primary residence. Tax evasion. They go out there. The cartels or a big group would come in through a proxy organization. They'd buy the house for 4 times its value. $400,000 house, here's $1.6 million. They go out there, they get the $1.6 million tax-free. The house sells. Private deal. Nobody says a word. Another clip. I think this is the last clip, but this is a good one. Well worth the watch.
In the United States and had 5,000 people falling into 20 different offices to conduct a criminal insurgency in America.
And this is just to remind people, this is TDA, Tren de Aragua, that made such big news before the 2024 election. And Maduro actually didn't just round up ordinary people. He went into the prisons.
He took them out of the prisons.
Yeah. Took the most violent criminals that Venezuela had.
They had a history.
Trained them.
They had a history in Venezuela with a group called the Pranas. And the Pranas were people that lived in the prisons. They kept them in the high security areas, and they had guns and their girlfriends with them and everything, and they would go out and murder people. They were government assassins run by the head of the prison system. And then the Tren de Aragua guys were in a prison called El Tocaron. There was a revolt. I know the general that went there and then suppressed it and killed 17 of them. But when Maduro found out that they were so well organized and so violent, he actually installed a telephone there and started talking to them from the presidential palace. They organized these guys, and then they gave them 6 weeks of intelligence training, a group of them, 300 of them, deployed them into America, and then sent 5,000 behind them to create a criminal insurgency in America.
Which is a foreign military invasion.
This was during the Biden administration. I told the Department of Homeland Security people overseas, I had to go out of the United States because I was outside of America anyway at that point, trying to avoid being arrested by the FBI for our election efforts. Went to a group of Homeland Security guys, gave them the information. They said, we can't do anything with it. The administration won't let us act on this. They waited to the day that Donald Trump was elected. The day Trump was elected, I got a phone call within 24 hours. Mr. Bernsen, We have the report you gave us. Would you introduce us to the source? I said, in minutes. 15 minutes later, I called the source, married him to that case officer, and he started providing him information.
What did they just tell you right there? That this is a planned, coordinated invasion of the United States of America. Cuba, Iran, Venezuela, Chinese money. They go into the Chinese money. They go into Russia. They go into the Democrats. The Biden administration didn't just allow this to happen. They set it up so it could happen. On the other side, in Venezuela, you have Tren Aragua, you have various other cartel members being trained. Remember, I went through this in my Watch the Water. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick. I went over this in this post right here months ago. Island of Margarita, Hezbollah, Hamas training hubs, IRGC ties, Venezuela's officers trained in Iran. We talked about the infiltration into the United States of America. Caracas, Damascus, Tehran flights, terror abridged, used movements of operatives. Billions of dollars of loans and military hardware to Caracas, fentanyl drug smuggling operation, influence in Venezuela's ports and infrastructure. The Biden administration was directly associated with this. How do we know? You can go to the connection of Lord Mark Malloch Brown. Lord Mark Malloch Brown, when you start to look at this, I'm going to pull up my FISA-gate article that I wrote many months ago. Right here. It goes into this. The Lenny Bernardo, Open Society Foundation, Soros Senior Vice President. You get into this. This is 2016. Okay? What do you learn? Lord Mark Malloch Brown, right there, ex-British diplomat, UN Deputy Secretary General, World Bank Exec, Clinton Foundation partner, Smartmatic Chairman, 2014 to 2020, Open Society Foundation Global Board member. In other words, who is one of the primary financiers of NGOs behind the scenes operating in Venezuela? Who's one of the people that got control of Smartmatic through one of their puppets, Lord Mark Malloch Brown, George Soros? Direct connectivity back to the Biden administration. Then we get into yesterday. We talked about SEPs, USAID and SEPs, the marketing arm for Smartmatic, funded by the U.S. taxpayer, led by Lord Mark Malloch Brown, where over 10 years, $6.9 billion was funneled to promote and market Smartmatic, Dominion, all of these technologies to various different states, which then installed it, of which those same states are the ones that helped steal the 2020 election. Fucking unbelievable. And so going back into what I said yesterday, this is that part where we have to demand justice. We have to go out there and we have to say, not you're going to look into it, DOJ. Not that you're going to say, hey, we're going to open up some investigations and not report back to you for 3 months. We want fucking justice. We want this figured out. We want these people to be taken down. And guess what? Why do you think Donald Trump has a U.S. Navy Armada fleet sitting off the coast of Venezuela right now? Do you believe that's because Donald Trump is just worried about the drugs coming over the border? No. That's about all of this. It was that physical deterrent that was utilized to ensure that sleeper cells within the United States would not be activated. This is one of the main reasons why the No Kings protest, why the March, the November 5th protest, why they never took foot, why nobody ever came out there and violence never ensued. Because Donald Trump has the global stage in checkmate. He neutralized Iran by pressuring the entire Middle East, by renegotiating trade deals, by having back doors open with Iran. He neutralized China economically. He put the U.S. Navy fleet sitting outside of Venezuela with massive armaments and over fucking 8,000 Marines. He put 20,000 troops on our southern border, deployed federal agents and National Guard across the United States of America. He negated their operations before they ever had a chance to get started. And now we're about to see the green for go. But there's a few tight ends that they had to clear up. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas today, CARE's X account is routed through the Turkish App Store. This seems like international operation link between CARE and the country tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. I designated CARE a terrorist organization, transnational criminal organization, because of the ties like this to that group. Look at that, Turkish App Store. Now, that's interesting that he came out and said that, because hours before this and last night on the show, I said this. The next organization to be declared a terrorist organization by the Trump administration, CARE, is rooted in affiliation with the Muslim Brotherhood. Dark money flows from various Soros-aligned organizations directly to CARE and their offshoot political organizations, political PACs. Now, what did I say there? Soros. Linda Sarsour, Mamdani, Soros, AOC, Soros, Democrats, liberals, Soros, Family Y. Now, yesterday, I brought to your attention Epstein, this article that I wrote on Epstein. Now, in this interview with Gary Bernstein and Lara Logan, they go into Cuba and how Cuba actually is a massive and well-respected intelligence arm globally. And that Cuba's intelligence agency is actually the kingpin that controls the Venezuela, Colombian cartels, and the Mexican cartels, which I was blown away. I didn't know this, but I found it incredibly interesting. And they go in to Cuba and Venezuela's influence and how this all started and who bought them out and the Soros and the money and all of these ties. There's a part in this article that I go into in the Epstein the other day that's really important. And I think that anybody who has not read it should go, I got the hiccups, should go in there and check it out. First thing I got to do, though, is we are on Rumble, so I do got to pay a bill and get an ad out there. And I hope you guys don't mind. If you are interested in this ad, please go ahead and head on over to Rumble, where you can find all of this information. New research says over 80% of Americans and 3/4 of Trump voters support America First international assistance. According to a new poll by McLaughlin, one of President Trump's pollsters, Americans across the country support assistance designed to root out fraud, tamp down terrorism, secure our borders, support our small farmers, and feed starving children. And over 70% of Trump voters believe that President Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize if he creates a world where almost no child starves to death. This is the type of assistance we can get behind. Many people will try to stop him, but only President Trump can turn America First international assistance into a reality. If he does it, a Nobel Prize is in his future. And the CAFIA, you can find all of those links right there on my Rumble if you are interested to go check that out. And now let's bring up this Epstein article from yesterday that I was talking about. And I'll put the link out there for anybody that wants to join the Substack over there and get in on this Epstein article, because I think that if you read this, which reads like a book because it is a book, you're going to see some caveats in here that you probably didn't know. And right off the bat, it starts out, the birth of the machine when the U.S. intelligence teamed up with organized crime. This is the Central Intelligence Agency straight off of the OSS through Operation Underworld, where they teamed up with the mobsters to control the ports in fears that the Germans and the Japanese could utilize them. The Cuba connection. This is the part I'm talking about right here. By 1950s, the alliance between U.S. intelligence and organized crime had evolved far beyond wartime origins. What had begun as a temporary arrangement of the New York docks had transferred into a global covert infrastructure. The CIA discovered that the mafia's networks were still useful not only for domestic control, but also as tools for foreign intervention. Smuggling routes, offshore banking, political blackmail, deniable operatives, a shadow network could be deployed anywhere in the world. As the Cold War intensified, the CIA increasingly leaned on criminal syndicates to conduct operations that Washington could not officially be associated with. Before Fidel Castro, this capital center for the CIA was Cuba. And now we're hearing that Cuba is the most powerful intelligence apparatus on the planet? Because the CIA doubled down there. Because the rogue aspects of the Central Intelligence Agency that run through what we call the deep state intelligence apparatus control it, just like they control Venezuela, like they control Mexico and all the cartels. So really interesting there. If you want to check that out, redpillproject.substack.com. I'm running out of time. And I'm running out of time. I got a whole bunch of stories to get to. I'll get to these stories here in a second. And I wanted to check this out real quick. Yep, I knew that. Okay. Number one, the lies of the mainstream media. And we're seeing a lot of disinformation. This is why it's all about psychological warfare. So the Reuters article the other day that Doge has been canceled. They terminated Doge. Doge came out as usual. This is fake news from Reuters. President Trump was given a mandate by the American people to modernize the federal government and reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. Just last week, Doge terminated 78 wasteful contracts and saved taxpayers $335 million. Doge has not been terminated. Doge has not been disbanded. It's fake news. They're trying to sow discontent. They're trying to show division. Now let's get into the seditious six because it ties directly in to everything we've really been talking about. Well, actually, before that, we're going to get into this. We're gonna play this Benny and Burchett clip real quick.
Almost 1,000 NGOs, non-government organizations working out of Afghanistan. I had Marco Rubio in committee, and I asked him, we're giving the Taliban 40 million. This is just an example. 40 million a week. 2 years I've been working on this. I got a freaking memo from the dadgum State Department, and they're no friends of mine. They're no friends of this country. That's the deep state. There ever was one. They've told us that we've given them close to $5 billion, and we're still doing it because it goes to the NGOs. The Democrats fought that amendment that we added NGOs into the bill. Why? Because there's 1,000 NGOs, and you know good and well that money's coming right back to Washington. That's what Elon told us. The paper trail runs right back. Now, can I find it? No, I don't have access to those kind of computers, but that's why they're squealing. They're squealing about it.
So squealing about USAID cuts, you're saying that our suspicions are confirmed that the money that's spent at USAID goes right back into Democrat campaign coffers.
Almost 100%. Almost 100%. There's still some Republicans, I think, if they are, that's why leadership, they sent somebody to see me. They sent my buddy, and he sits beside me. Tim, man, some of the chairmen are kind of upset what you said, and go through all this stuff. And I said, but it's the truth, right? He goes, well, yeah, we know it's the truth, but you just can't keep saying it. And I keep saying it. So that's why I always tell people I'm not suicidal.
You made a lot of news on our show.
Okay. Confirmation once again. 1,000 NGOs operating out of Afghanistan, $5 billion sent to the Taliban, which distributes that money to NGOs in that country, which then flows back through various dark money channels directly into the coffers of Democrats and politicians. I've heard this before. We've talked about this before. This is no surprise to any of us. And for anybody asking where my Rumble channel is, there's my Rumble channel. Now, why is that important? It's important to understand that in order for us to win the midterms, in order for us to win 2028, we have to get everybody back down to a level playing field. We have to remove the taxpayer-funded politicians, the dark money channels, the NGOs, because if they're not just funding politicians and political power in the United States, they're funding secret wars and private intelligence organizations that operate around the world. They're stealing elections somewhere. It's critically important that Doge does its job, critically important that Congress and the DOJ investigate these claims and look at this money. OMB ain't going to do it. Oh, this is good. I love this one. Let's listen to Jesse Waters real quick. Very video heavy tonight, I know.
I sort of wanted her to keep talking. I mean, what foolishness. This is a woman who won a year ago by 0.3 of a percentage point in Michigan by 19,000 votes out of 5 million cast. And she speaks like this: I want the people of Michigan, Arizona to know their senators are interested in sound bites and social media screeds rather than facts and figures.
So I talked to 2 CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat. And the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand, and you have to make examples out of people.
100%. And we're seeing the hammer drop right now for the seditious 6. But at the end of the day, one thing you have to understand is they want a civil war. That's what this is about. They are trying to push the countries to a civil war. Donald Trump on Truth Social. The traitors that told the military to disobey my orders should be in jail right now, not roaming free the fake news networks trying to explain that what they said was okay. It wasn't and will never be. It was sedition at the highest levels, and sedition is a major crime. There can be no other interpretation of what they said. Today, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the Department of War recently reviewed information regarding potentially unlawful comments made by Captain retired Mark E. Kelly in a public video on or about November 18th, 2025. I'm referring this and other related matters for your review, consideration, and deposition as you deem appropriate. Please provide me a brief on the outcome of your review no later than December 10th, 2025. And that goes to the Secretary of the Navy. In other words, Mark Kelly is a retired Navy captain who falls under the jurisdiction of the United States Navy because guess what? You're never truly out of the military. You can be recalled back to active duty just about any time, especially if you're retired and you're receiving benefits from the United States military, which retired personnel are. They can be recalled any point in time, and they are still liable under the UCMJ. What Mark Kelly did was breaking the law. What Senator Mark Kelly did was illegal. It was sedition, treason, and conspiracy. They were trying to undermine the direct lawful orders of Donald Trump, and knowing that very, very soon he is most likely going to implement the Insurrection Act, because all of this stuff is coming to a head. All of this stuff is going to come to a point of culmination. They know this. They know that their system, their house of cards, is being tumbled. They know that the only way that they can save face is running an intelligence operation to get people to disobey those direct orders, to basically put kinks within the system that Donald Trump is operating. Glenn Beck, 18 U.S.C. 2387, activities affecting armed forces general. This statute makes it a federal crime to do any of the following with an intent to interfere with the U.S. operations: advise, urge, or attempt to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty among members of the U.S. military. There it is. Direct violation, 18 U.S.C. 2387. Donald Trump posted this on his Truth Social just the other day.
A retired Navy officer, now a sitting U.S. Senator, is under investigation for actions that may have encouraged the armed forces to question or refuse lawful orders, from the Commander-in-Chief. To understand the gravity of that, you don't need pundits. You don't need headlines. You only need the oath every military member takes. Follow lawful orders, defend the Constitution, protect the chain of command. That oath doesn't expire when the uniform comes off, and it doesn't dissolve when public office is gained. Campaign jackets and military patches are not props. They represent responsibility and accountability. It doesn't matter whether military service is celebrated in a campaign or never mentioned again. The oath follows you for life. Today, the United States Department of War released the following official statement. Quote, the Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, U.S. and retired, in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, 10 U.S.C. Section 688, and other applicable regulations. A thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. This law will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject to the UCMJ for applicable offenses, and federal laws such as 18 U.S.C. Section 2387 prohibit actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. All service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey lawful orders, and that orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and
Do you
defend
solemnly swear
the
that you will support
Constitution
and
of the
defend the
United
Constitution
States
of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic? That you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same? That you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which you are about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
Boom. Donald Trump posted that on his True Social, as well as many different memes about remember your oath. Hegseth said on his personal account, the video made by Seditious Six was despicable, reckless, and false, encouraging the warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders, undermines every aspect of good order and discipline. Their foolish screed sows doubt and confusion, which only puts our warriors in harm's way. Now, something interesting happened today, and I don't know if anybody caught it. I don't think you guys caught it because I didn't hear anybody say anything to me about it. But I'm going to go look at it real quick. I'm going to pull this up for you. I want you to tell me what you notice. The White House today, as well as the Department of War and Trump's rapid response team, began posting a bunch of patriots who are coming out and talking about the Seditious Six. And once you get down in here a little bit, you'll start seeing the post that they retweeted earlier this morning, after we get past the turkey, of course. So you get down into here. And the White House began retweeting a whole bunch of patriots on here. There we go. Right Side Rebel. Talking about Seditious Six. You got Chad Caton, patriot right there. You got Coffee and Grit, Buzz Patterson. Wait, Travis Nelton, Ayalegi, Dan Ball. Wait, who's that? Did he get reposted by the White House? Huh. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? So, transition just a little bit here. I think it's pretty cool, Alpha, got retweeted by that. I did not make a Sedition 6 video, so I wasn't expecting to get retweeted by it. I thought about doing it afterwards. I'm like, yeah, it's not my thing. I don't do like TikTok style videos. I'm bad at it. Candace Owens. There is some dire concern here. So Candace Owens came out and starts talking about some information pertaining to France and an assassination plot, and potentially how Charlie Kirk's assassination was directly linked to her lawsuit against Macron, because that actually uncovers kind of a European MK Ultra project that goes out there and grooms people and then puts world leaders with grooms world leaders and all this stuff. Exactly what we've been talking about for years. Ex-CIA and information leaked earlier this year confirms the existence of Emmanuel Macron's assassination squads, and how the French leader commands a secret army of professional assassins to eliminate critics and any opposition. Another reason the Macrons are targeting Candace Owens is after revealing their alleged sex ties to the elite pedophiles. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all connected. This is what they are hiding and don't want you to know. Way before Charlie Kirk's assassination or anything involving Candace's assassination rumors, former CIA officer John Kirikou bluntly explained how France assassinates Greenpeace protesters in an article also leaked backing up his claim about the French government. Then there's all the weird pedophile ties and the hat tips all throughout their life. The way they present themselves in the media is staged over their presidential residence, including members around them involved in child sexual abuse scandals. Brigitte even wanted and backed erecting a gold phallus with golden balls as a new spire for the Notre Dame Cathedral. Emmanuel Macron supposedly staged a book in his own presidential portrait, which was written by a self-proclaimed pedophile who backs legalizing pedophilia and other sick ideologies that destroys the nuclear family and introduces a twisted, perverted world and sexualizes children. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more. Remember when I started originally telling you guys that the UK and Europe, the EU, this was the real enemy that Trump was targeting? This is the old guard that we're trying to take down. Now you're beginning to see how they are the cross center of the satanic elite. Now, do I believe what Candace Owens has been saying? I've been paying attention. I've been listening. I know a lot of people have been paying attention and listening. This is one thing I did not expect to see. Brandon Tatum, right here, a guy I do not agree with, a guy who has been highly critical of everything Candace has been saying. Completely just anti-Candace narrative. 100% complete pro-Israel. Listen to what he says right here.
Then, brother, the American government, I don't care how much you don't like Candace, I don't care how much you've been trashing the American government and the FBI, they got to do something. And I'm going to tell you what they will do. It doesn't matter right, wrong, or indifferent. They have to investigate this. They have to investigate this. And I think that if it is found to be true and the proof prevails, which I'm convinced, after talking to Candace and the stuff that we talked about, I'm convinced, then that means that there should be dire consequences for the French government and whoever else was involved, the Macrons or whatever, dire consequences. I'm talking about the American government should go after them like never before. Then
understand, this is getting very, very, very real. That potentially the French government and Israeli snipers, I know that's what Candace was saying, are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Doesn't mean it was Netanyahu, doesn't mean it was the Mossad. I don't think it was. I've stated this multiple times for the record. Look what General Flynn said to this. There's plenty of truth to all of these accusations. Talking about Candace Owens. This is the man on the inside. I don't like Tatum either. Candace is saying that she's notified the authorities, the FBI, the White House. They have this information. They know about it. That Macron was utilizing negotiations over Ukraine as a positioning to get Donald Trump on the phone with Donald Trump to get Candace to drop the case against Bridget Macron. This is why Trump called Candace and told her to stay away from it. This is who we are dealing with here. Now, I find it interesting that Thomas Crooks had 2 foreign contacts on his phone. Belgium and Austria were the whereabouts of those 2 foreign contacts, which are deeply within the territory of where this old guard operates. Hence why it's being covered up right now. Hence why the Charlie Kirk stuff is being covered up. They're not ready to deal with that part of the enemy just yet. At least that's my thoughts. I saw a post earlier yesterday that said aliens are going to be more declassified than Epstein. Honestly, it's probably true. Extraterrestrials aren't the ones running global pedophile rings orchestrated by intelligence agencies or hiding decades-long genetic experiments behind layers of government protection. That was the elites all along. You might say, like, well, what if the aliens were running genetic experimentations? Well, they might have, but they weren't doing it through government protection. David Grush dropped a bombshell the other day. He said that he has firsthand exposure to non-human sentient beings and that their motives aren't at all peaceful. He claims President Trump is fully briefed on UAPs and eventually might speak out about this. I came out the other day and I said, Donald Trump is going to release, most likely, the existence of extraterrestrials by the midterm elections. I think we're really close. And I think that this is going to be, I think that that will be the unifying factor after this big fallout that happens that we're waiting for right now. And once the first bombs drop, the Moabs drop on Venezuela, that's when it begins. I think that's coming really soon. I got to prep and get ready here very shortly for DEFCON 0. Excuse me. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and do this last one real quick, and then we'll get into our last final statements. Let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here. And this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cash back on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. Want in on the action? Head to crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. All right. Got that out of the way. We did good. You did good, my son. You did good. All right. We have the golden age coming. The Trump just signed an executive order called the Genesis Initiative. The Genesis mission. All right. The Genesis mission has arrived. It's wiring together the world's most powerful supercomputers, cutting-edge AI, and exclusive data sets across every major scientific field to double America's research speed and impact in just 10 years. Guys, this is exactly what I've been talking about. They are going to utilize quantum and supercomputers, artificial intelligence, to enhance science over the course of the next 10 years. But guess what? How do you disclose decades of reverse engineering of highly advanced exotic alien technology to humanity without showing the existence of these projects of reverse engineering or letting humanity know that you've had these technologies for 30 years? Well, you introduce supercomputers and artificial intelligence and you let them figure it out. And then that brings about a slow pace commercialization drip of those technologies. That's what this is all about. You heard it here first. So a warning to humanity. We are standing at the edge of a civilizational shift. This is a post I wrote. I don't think most people understand, whether in this country or anywhere in the world, truly understand what has already happened, what is unfolding right now, and what is coming next. We are standing at the turning point in human civilization unlike anything in recorded history. The rise of artificial intelligence, the emergence of quantum technology, and the rapid evolution of interconnected digital systems have given humanity the potential to transform the world in ways previous generations couldn't even imagine. We now possess the tools to shape economies, redefine human potential, and break through the limitations that held civilization back for thousands of years. But here's the danger no one wants to confront. The centers of power that govern these technologies, political institutions, academic elites, corporate monopolies, and intelligence adjacent networks are deeply corrupt and entirely captured. These institutions control the regulations, they control the money, they control the capital, they control the infrastructure, they control the technology itself. They are the gatekeepers of the future, and right now, they are not working for humanity. They are working to preserve their power. This is the old guard, a decaying system desperately trying to maintain dominance by dictating who gets access to world-changing tools and who remains in the dark. If we do nothing, if we stay silent, if we allow these institutions to consolidate total control over AI, quantum computing, biotechnology, energy systems, and data infrastructure, then the future will not be built for the people, it will be built against them. We are looking at the potential birth of a digital caste system, a world where freedom is replaced by algorithmic governance, where speech is mediated by machine learning filters, where privacy becomes impossible, and where access to opportunity is decided by systems you will never see, never vote on, and never control. Humanity stands at a crossroads. Either we reclaim our right, our freedoms, and our role in shaping the future, or we surrender the next 1,000 years to unelected technocrats who believe they own the future simply because they got there first. This is the warning. If we fail to stand up now, if we fail to demand transparency, decentralization, and human-centered innovation, then the greatest leap in technological potential will be used not to elevate humanity, but to enslave it. We must call for a digital bill of rights. We must call for protective actions. But it goes back to my conversation yesterday where we have to unite as a people in one common voice and accord, whether we put devoid of political affiliation, of religious affiliation, of color, of creed, of gender, who gives a shit? We have to come together as Americans to preserve our rights within this government, within this world, and ensure that the systems being built today protect us, serve us, and do not relay power to the elite while taking it away from the people. That's my thoughts. I will be on DEF CON 0 in about 30 minutes from now. I hope to see you guys there. We'll be talking about the Ghost Army and much, much more. I hope you guys have a great evening if I don't see you over at DEF CON. Other than that, I will see you again tomorrow. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. See you next time, guys. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns to silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Through the smoke, a voice still calls. We the soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots arise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time. There was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"